Coming up on this week's episode, we're talking Villa, Chelsea and Norwich. I have more stats in the Wonders of White. Liam has a teaser and another tale from around the world, so let's get started. Hello and welcome to episode 26 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Liam is here as always. Hello Liam.
Good evening Chris, how you doing?
Meh. Okay.
Not so good. It's roles reversed this week. Normally you're happy and I'm sad.
Yeah, my week this week. But we are going to have a little bit of a talk about both of our teams tonight, as well as obviously the first team that have been relegated this season from the Premier League, Norwich. But we'll start off with your teaser this week.
Okay, so as you did so well last week.
Oh yeah, the Spanish.
You named all the Spanish goal stories. Yeah. So I thought I'd make it a little bit more difficult this week. So there are 6 managers who've managed 5 or more Premier League teams. I want you to try and name them. Obviously, I normally do this out of 5.
Yeah.
If you want to give me 5 answers, that's fine. I'll give you a bonus point for 6. But if you want to go for all 6, that's all good. Go for it. I think you can do it.
I'll definitely give it a go. I've got a couple of names in mind already, but I will keep jotting some names down as we go on through the podcast. So we'll come back to an answer on that teaser in a bit, but we're going to go straight into our talking points this week, and we'll start with Villa. Well, yeah, I think we were messing each other maybe at the end of last week, saying that this is a Villa side that had no fight in them, and we were convinced that they were probably going down. But you had a bit of a lifeline yesterday.
We did. There is a little bit of hope, which almost makes it worse because I still think we're inevitably going to go down. But yeah, it was not a bad performance. We got a little bit of luck. I don't think Sakho's goal should have been ruled out. But having said that, all the VAR decisions that have gone against us this year, and I know every team says exactly the same thing, we maybe deserved a little bit of luck. I think after last week and the Bruno Fernandes penalty, which VAR I don't even think looked at, I think we deserved a little bit of fortune from VAR. But overall, I was actually quite impressed. I wasn't going to watch the game. I said I wasn't going to watch the game. I think I managed probably about half an hour before I actually turned the game on. But once I did, I saw actual attacking intent, which I've not seen from Villa in a long, long time. And we actually seemed like we were up for the game. I don't know whether the goal sort of spurred us into action, the Sakho goal that got ruled out. I don't know whether that gave us a bit of a kick up the backside. But yeah, we actually seemed like we felt positive and that we could go and outscore an opponent rather than just sort of sit back and hope for a lucky 1-0 or 0-0 draw. So that was good to see. I wasn't as impressed with Grealish's dive, Chris. I don't know what you made of it. I've been a very strong defender of him, and it's getting more and more difficult when he does things like that.
Yeah, I think in real time, as the referee seen it, it did look like a penalty, but once you see that, you only have to take a look at the replay once to see that he's kind of stepped on the player's foot and decided.
I think he's done what Bruno Fernandes did last week. I think he's seen Fernandes get away with it and thought, yeah, I'll give it a go. But yeah, not really. I don't want that, to be honest. If we're going to win a game, I want to do it properly. But it didn't matter in the end anyway. And then the other, I suppose, major talking point, other than the 2 goals, was after the final whistle. I don't know whether you saw the kick out. It was a definite kick out, but you know, it wasn't Soyuncu, you know, what he did against Bournemouth this week. But yeah, to see someone that I've got a huge soft spot for Christian Benteke for keeping us in the league for 2 or 3 seasons. But what is he? I mean, he had a shocker. He had an absolute shocker. And normally you think your ex-player has a bad game against you and you're quite glad about it. But he is a bit of a legend at Villa Park, so I felt a little bit sorry for him, really.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, to be honest, but I'll take your word for it.
It was one of those after the game. I think a lot of the Palace players were a bit annoyed, and I think tempers just got a bit too much, and it was just a little bit of a tetchy handbags, really. But I can see why. Yeah, he did kick out, but it wasn't a full boot, put it that way.
No,
But I
when
was very pleased. I'm glad that safety is back on now. I'm saying they're staying up.
Yeah, you've what's your last game of the season?
Is West Ham.
So it is West Ham, isn't it? So it's a
Yeah.
very, very big game. Could be a huge game.
So we've got Everton, who we've already beaten once this season.
Yeah.
Away, and we've got Arsenal, who we nearly beat this season, but for 2 last-minute goals by Aubameyang. And then
After they went down to 10 men as well.
After they went down to 10 men, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. That makes it a lot better.
I think Man United have just scored.
Oh no!
Yeah, they have just scored. That's disappointing. So my good mood has lasted for about 3 minutes. Sorry, mate. I was just saying about the Villa. When I look at the team, I find it hard to find your natural leader. Grealish is a very good player, but is he worthy of captaincy? I'm not 100% sure.
I think he's probably got it just because he's been at the club the longest. But personally, for me, I can see where you're coming from. I think Mings at the end of last season and towards the start of this season was quite vocal at the back. But we lost a big player, even though he didn't play much in his last season, in James Chester, because he was our club captain. And I think there has been a bit of a void that we've struggled to fill. I think we did need probably a bit more Premier League experience, especially in the back four, to come in and give us that bit of leadership. I know we've got Tom Heaton, who I would personally say is a better candidate for captain, although he's been injured for a lot this season. But yeah, I think if you're looking at a captain, you want someone who's been there and done it, who's played in the Premier League, who knows what it's all about, and we don't have that player at the minute.
And just speaking of signings at the start of the season, obviously you went down that road of signing quite a few players, as did Fulham, obviously, the season before, and obviously they got relegated. Do you think that was the right idea, or do you think the more of the Sheffield United approach of keep the players that got you into the Premier League? I know you still got a few of those players there.
Yeah, I think we had to invest. I think you look at the players that got us up into the Premier League. You had Adoma, who was out of contract. Alan Hutton was out of contract. Chester had been injured for a long time, and he was never really getting back to full fitness. We had a lot of players leave. Bjarnason was another one who left. Jedinak, who's just retired. I'd say a lot of more rotation and squad players that left, but we needed to fill out the team with bodies. I think a lot of the first team with like McGinn and Grealish and El Ghazi, they did survive, but we needed more than just the bare minimum amount of players. I think the problem that we have is that we've paid Premier League prices for those squad players. So we've I think we let about 10 or 11 go between the end of last season and this season, and we've replaced them for players that have left for free. We've replaced them for 13 or 14 million pound players, some even more, and they're rotation options. They're not giving us anything that we didn't have already. A lot of Villa fans, I think, were crying out for investment up front. And although we got Wesley, I think we all felt we needed more. And we've seen, Keenan Davis has been starting a lot after the restart. I know we bought Samatta in January, but we were left woefully short going forward. And I think we were left short with experience in the back four. I know I do rate Mings still, but he's not had much around him. I would have liked to have seen just spend £30 million, get a centre back that is going to be consistent. And I think we lacked a lot of that. We spent sort of 10, 15 million here and there on players that didn't know the league, didn't even know the country. A lot of them came from Belgium. We got sort of Engels and obviously Samatta and Nakamba and Wesley. They all came from Belgian football. It's very different, and I think we needed to invest in probably more homegrown talent. I think that's where we went wrong. I think we needed to spend big, but I just think we spent on the wrong people.
Well, my mood has got even worse now because Man United have scored again.
Oh
Just
no!
2-1.
I need to stop talking. They seem to
Two
score every
goals.
time I'm talking.
Two goals in 3 minutes. Martial got the second. So brilliant. I don't Southampton. Yeah, it'd be a shame for Villa to go, obviously, because obviously you're a fan. I know a few Villa fans, but they're always good for 3 points. So
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on now to Chelsea.
I think I'm going to let you take the wheel on this one, Chris.
Yeah. I don't really know where to start. Obviously, I think since the restart, I think despite winning quite a few of the games, I still don't think that we've been at our best. I think especially when we played Villa, that was you took the lead and, we did turn it around in that game, but we didn't play particularly well. Even against Crystal Palace midweek last week, we were awful for the whole game. Still just about managed to cross the line on that one with the win. I don't know if you saw Zuma's tackle at the end when Benteke got the ball, but it was talk about last ditch defending. It was a really good tackle from him. And then we go to what happened on Saturday where we lost 3-0 to Sheffield United. I don't even know where to start, to be fair. It was just awful. We just get caught out so many times at set pieces, and we just never seem to learn. It's just the same every week. Every time a team gets a decent free kick that they can whip in, or a corner, we just look so vulnerable.
It was very un-Chelsea-like.
Yeah, I think we've conceded the
Terry
most.
And Mourinho.
Yeah, we've conceded the most goals from set pieces in the whole league this season. So that kind of tells you where we are. The goals that we concede, 80% of those goals, I think, could be defended better. We just don't defend well. I don't think we've defended well all season, but it was just the fact that we were scoring lots of goals. It kind of made up for that. And even when you look going forward, obviously we've brought in Werner, Ziyech, and then we're linked with Havertz, Sancho, the guy from Brentford. I think he's a winger, isn't he? The guy from Brentford.
Yeah, Benrahma. Yeah.
These are all attacking players. I understand the need for attacking players, but that defence needs a whole rework. Azpilicueta, I think he out of the sort of all of the defenders, and James maybe are the probably two that I'd keep. But centre back wise, Christensen, he's okay. He's not great. I don't think he makes the best decisions all the time. Rudiger is very hit and miss. One game, he'll have an amazing game. The next minute, he gets substituted at half time. Zuma, he's always had that question mark over him whether he's good enough to be playing for Chelsea. Again, you see a glimmer of hope with him sometimes, but then he makes mistakes all the time. So, yeah,
Do you think it's affected your strikers? Obviously, Werner, Ziyech, all on their way in. Do you think, because obviously you lost 3-0 at the weekend, goal scoring hasn't been. Do you think Abraham's just thought, well, they're bringing Werner in? I think I've had a good year, so what's the point?
It's a difficult one because obviously Abraham had such a good sort of first half of the season, and he's really, really just stopped scoring goals. And it's come to the point now where when I see the team sheet and I see Giroud ahead of him, and I think, well, that's probably the right choice. And I probably wouldn't have said that at the start of the season. So I think kind of answers that question a little bit. I don't know if it's affecting him. I'd say the service isn't always great. I'd say we're very good at getting a cross in, but getting it past that first man just seems to be something that we just cannot do. I think with someone like Tammy Abraham, I think we'll rely on his height too much.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of route one, just kind of like cross it to him and just hopefully he gets a header in. We never sort of play that sort of slick pass in and outside the box. We always just seem to end up going backwards. But I think there is some glimmer of hope still. I still do think we'll get top four. Obviously, with Man City now, they'll definitely be in the Champions League next season. That's kind of put the pressure back on a little bit as to,
Yep.
we definitely need to get that fourth spot. If it means that Man United get third and we get fourth, I'm not entirely fussed anymore. I think I think Leicester, I think they're in a position now where they are actually playing worse than what we are. So, and Wolves not winning as well, it kind of is helping. So I think
looked
the
very
fall,
good at the weekend. I still fancy Wolves to. I mean, they're 4
yeah,
points off fifth now. I still expect them to catch Leicester. The way that Leicester have been looking the last couple of games, especially against Bournemouth at the weekend. But I do think you're safe in fourth.
yeah,
And I think you're right. I think investment is needed in defence. Probably a goalkeeper. I mean, he made a couple of decent saves against Sheffield United, but again, a couple of the goals I thought, could he get a stronger hand to it, or he's palmed one. It was a good save. The first goal, it was a good save, but he's palmed it straight into the path
yeah.
of the Sheffield United striker. And as a keeper, you want to be pushing them away further than just leaving them on the edge of your own 6-yard box. But it's those kind of little things. Who do you buy?
Yeah, that's the point. I thought Tomori was really good. Obviously, he's injured at the moment, so I think he would stay. But I think personally, I think they'll probably try and get rid of Zuma in the summer. Whether they get rid of Christensen as well, I'm not sure. But we'll have to see. We've got Norwich tomorrow night at home, so a bit more hopeful.
From the perspective of someone who doesn't support Chelsea, I'm looking at. I mean, obviously, your target this season was to get back in the Champions League. That's fine, but you want to be doing well in the Champions League. And I look at a back four that contains Zuma and Christensen, and I look at even other teams in our league, but certainly other teams in Europe, and I compare the defences, and you just think they're not quite
there,
that level.
Yeah.
They're good. They're a good Premier League defence. Don't get me wrong, but to be a good title challenging, cup winning defence, I don't quite think they've got it.
Just quickly before we move on to the Norwich thing, I saw this tweet. I saved it in my phone. I just wanted to get your opinion because it is Chelsea related. So someone put on Twitter, he put unpopular opinion. The Chelsea winning the league under Conte was more impressive than Pep Guardiola's 2 title wins with City and Klopp's with Liverpool.
Oh, I don't think Klopp's with Liverpool, but I think judging by the money that Guardiola has had, and they did actually give him time because his first year wasn't brilliant. So, and I think with the squad that Klopp inherited at Liverpool compared to the squad they have now, is 2 different teams. I personally think the squad that Conte inherited wasn't great, and he made them good. Even if it was just
this is what he said. This is what this guy said. He said I still don't know how Conte turned Marcus Alonso and Victor Moses into such monsters in his system.
Exactly,
it's absolutely crazy.
And he did with the 3 centre backs playing the attacking wing backs. Because Alonso got into double figures, I think, that season for goals scored, didn't he? I know he took free kicks and things like that, but I do think it was impressive. Even if he bought a bit of, what now I think is a bit of deadwood, because he buy Bakayoko, or was that?
Yeah, there was lots of deadwood that came in.
Yeah, and Jorginho hasn't been particularly brilliant, but I think he did a good job. I think he did a really good job. I think any other manager probably wouldn't have got a title out of that team at all, really.
Okay, I was just seeing what you thought about it. I thought it was quite, when I read it, I thought, he's probably got a point there in some way.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just quickly go on to Norwich. I think we both just wanted to quickly mention, obviously, Obviously, they are the first team to be relegated in the Premier League. Kind of just the things that went wrong for them. One of the things I actually highlighted was Timo Pukki.
Yeah,
And it was the fact that I remember at the start of the season, he just couldn't stop scoring goals. And they weren't necessarily winning, a tremendous amount of games, but they were putting in half decent performances there because they beat Man City as well, didn't they? I
yeah,
vaguely
they did.
remember.
Yeah,
But he was probably their star player. And I think since he's dropped off, they've got a lot worse.
yeah.
And their defence is very bad as well.
It's almost as bad as ours.
um, but I think this is the cards have been on this one for a while. I think for Norwich, but I think the one glimmer of hope that they have is that they are good. They are very good at getting back up. They've done it a couple of times before, so I think they could potentially come straight back up. But I do think that Pookie will leave.
Yeah, I'll
And
be
I think the
interested to see
other,
if their manager stays as well.
yeah, and the other one as well is Cantwell.
Yes, I think
I
he's a
think a
talent.
Premier League team will buy, not necessarily like one of the big sort of six clubs. He could potentially go to maybe a Leeds if they get promoted, or even I think if Villa stay up, they could look at him maybe as someone to bring in.
Mm.
I think he's one of their hardest working players, Cantwell, and out of their sort of off season they've had, I think he is probably the best thing that's come out of that for them, and they probably will get a fair bit of money for him as well.
I imagine that. Yeah, I think they will. It was Norwich was a strange one because they've had a lot of players this year and last year because I watched them a lot in the Championship when they came up. A lot of players that I thought were genuinely really good quality, like you say, Cantwell. I think has been excellent for them. He does work hard. I think Buendia, when he's on form, he can, his passing is amazing. He can pick a pass that no
Yeah,
one else can see. I think Hernandez as well, but they're all attacking and mostly wide players. And I think it was the spine of that team that's really let them down, especially at the back as well. Obviously, I know they had a lot of injuries at certain points in the season. Ben Godfrey, I think, has played quite a lot for them, and he's only 21, I think, something like that. But it's a bit strange that I look at that Norwich squad and I think they've got some genuine talent that is probably better than the players that Villa have got in their team. I could
yeah,
easily see Buendia starting for Villa. I could see Hernandez starting for Villa, Cantwell, Godfrey, like all those kind of people. But yes, you're right. Pukki had an incredible season last year, carried it on for the first few weeks, and then found it very difficult. But defensively, although they're young, and I think they will, if they can keep them together, come back up. I think they're going to be really highly sought after. Now Norwich have gone down. I think there are going to be some good teams looking at like Max Aarons and Lewis as well.
he was the other one that shut down Aaron's. He's the right back or left back, isn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah, and
Yeah,
they're only 20 or 21, something like that. So I think they could go for big money. And if they stay at Norwich, they'll have a chance of getting back up. And I include the manager in that. But if they end up selling their best assets, they've got to make sure that they invest that money wisely. I think they'll
yeah,
probably get a fair bit of it, but it's not easy in the Championship. You can buy as many people as you want. You've got to have something a little bit different, and I think that lies with the manager. I mean, what do you think, Chris? I don't know whether he'll stay or not.
it's hard to say. I think it, I think he'd only go. I think he'll only go if another job comes up. I don't think he'll want to be out of the job. Um, but it's where he goes. I don't.
Yeah,
I think he
I
might
don't know
stay.
whether
I
he'll
think
give
he
it.
might stay just to see if maybe he can get them straight back up. But fortunately for Norwich, they are a bit of a yo-yo team. So when they do come up, they generally do go straight back down. So
Yeah,
uh,
it's strange talk because obviously we've had a lot of conversations about Dean Smith, and I was obviously of the opinion he should have gone at Christmas. There's been no talk about Farker leaving Norwich.
I
Not
think
even
it's
from their own
just
fans.
yeah. I think it's just that's it's what comes down to expectation. I think. I
They
don't.
didn't spend much, did they?
No, I generally don't think many Norwich fans are going to turn around and say that they expected. They might say they expected to stay up, but they were always going to be in a quite a bit of a fight to stay up. Like you said, they didn't invest hardly anything on players. Um, so yeah, that's probably why he hasn't been mentioned.
Yeah, I
But
think you might be right. I think possibly unless a job becomes available in Germany, I think he'll stay. And I think if he does, they'll have a very good chance of coming back up again next year.
yeah, we'll have to wait and see what they do over the summer. But yeah, that's it for part one. And in part two, we'll be back with a tale from Liam's archives. This is what I'm trying to think of a name for you, Liam. Liam's archives. But we'll be back in part two. Hello and welcome back to part two of View from the Sideline podcast. Quickly before we just go into Liam's story, Yeovil are back in action this weekend, Liam, on Saturday. Yep, the playoff. They've got to play 3 games in the playoffs, including the
that mad
finals.
playoff system.
So this is kind of the quarterfinals, I guess. So they're playing Barnet, who were lucky enough to get into the playoffs anyway on the points per games or whatever it was. They were 11th, I think. They finished the season when lockdown hit. They got into the playoffs. It's on BT Sport. I've seen the pictures from the ground today. The scaffolding is up, ready for the TV cameras. So
nice. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, they're only one leg, so it's so it is a bit of a shootout. So hopefully they can get through. And if they get through, they'll play Notts County, which probably again is not the easiest tie to play, but that'll be at Notts County as well. But hopefully next week on the podcast we can talk a bit about Yeovil's win. Hopefully.
Got my fingers crossed.
But yeah, Liam, where are we going this week with your story?
Well, this week, Chris, we are going to Romania. The reason that I've chosen this story is because obviously we're in July now. Normally the transfer window is open, and I wanted to make it a bit topical. Obviously new players can't play yet, but this story is the story of the transfer of Ion Radu in 1998. So Ion Radu was a Romanian midfielder who got sold by second division, excuse the pronunciation, Gil Petrosani. He went to a club called Valsia during the official transfer window. Nothing unusual, as isn't very normal with my stories these days. Nothing unusual about this point.
Yeah, no, all sounds legit.
The unusual thing about this transfer was he wasn't sold for any money, no value whatsoever. He was sold for 500 kilograms of pork. Now, that 500 kilos of pork was worth roughly about £1,750 at the time of the sale. Gil Petrosani, club president, said the meat was to be sold in order to pay player salaries. And just for some fun, I thought I'd make a bit of a comparison to the record transfer, which is obviously currently Neymar, around 198 million. So in terms of pork, that's about 56,571,000 kilos of pork that could be made by using around 808,000 pigs. So there you go. That's my story of the week.
It seems like a very strange way to go about making money selling pork. Could they not have just asked for the money?
Well, I don't. How do you make an offer?
Is there a good markup? A good markup on pork back then in Romania, or
I have maybe pork was, shares in pork farms were going through the roof. I have no idea, but I just normally when an offer is made for a club, surely like an agent gets involved. All right, you're in the second division of Romania, you might not have an agent, but normally a club must ring the other one up or send a fax or
I was about to say,
email or something. What have they sent to get? Well, by the way, we've got loads of pork here, and we're after one of your players. Can we do a deal? I mean, I have no idea how that came about, but yeah, it's a good
Surely
story.
it has to be like sanctioned by the Romanian FA as well. So imagine their faces when it comes through on the facts on deadline day. Deadline day, they got they got Sky Sports Romania up, and and the guy on the TV's there like breaking news. Radu has moved for pork.
I mean, how do you, if you're a Romanian Football Manager, how do you make an offer of 500 kilograms of pork?
Yeah, how? It just seems like a very. Surely that's a lot of pork to get rid of, like in a short space of time before it, like kind of.
Yeah, because it's not going to
goes
last
bad.
Where do you store it all?
Maybe they sold another player to get like a huge like fridge freezer. Yeah, we need a pork freezer.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I've heard of things like that before, like where they've didn't Ian Wright like when he left like a really low division club for Palace. Didn't that? I don't think money was ever transferred then. I think that was
that
a football kit or something.
Yeah, or footballs or something like that. So I'd heard of a few that had been football related, whether it had been like a set of shirts or a bag of footballs or whatever. But it was just it stood out for me because it's not football related at all. It's just pork.
I just can't imagine how. But do you think the agent got paid in pork as well? Like
12% of that.
5%. And what happens to his signing on fee if he does he get pork or the player gets pork as well?
No idea. There you go.
That's a good one. I like that. That was very good. Pork. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so I'll move on to the Wonders of White. I've got 2 Spanish-themed ones this week. I thought I'd have a look a bit around. The first one is Lacazette is the first Arsenal player to score home and away against Spurs in a single season since Per Mertesacker in 2012.
Wow.
That one shocked me because Per Mertesacker actually scored twice in a season.
I didn't even know he scored twice in a career.
There you go.
That's just amazing.
This is a Villa-themed one, actually. Trezeguet is the second player to score a brace in the Premier League for Villa this season. Do you know the other guy that scored a brace?
I do, because it was about the biggest highlight we've had this season was the 5-1 win. And I think Wesley got 2.
It was Wesley against Norwich, yeah.
I think that's 2 of his 3 goals, I think, this season came in that game.
And this one goes to show that Messi is still probably one of the greatest players ever to grace the football pitch. So Messi is the first La Liga player since 2008 to reach 20 assists in one season. That record is held by Xavi. So Messi needs 1 more assist, and he has broken a La Liga record.
That's incredible.
20
For what,
assists.
30 odd? 32 now, is he? That's unbelievable.
And this one, so many times I remember when this player was playing for Chelsea, this would always happen. So Morata has been caught offside more than any other La Liga player this season. He's currently at 36 times he's been caught offside. I used to say this all the time when he played Chelsea. He just could not stay onside when a ball came to him.
Just read the line, mate. Come on.
Just every time. I saw it on Twitter, and I thought, I love that one because literally
any dig at Morata is a good one.
Week in, week out, it would happen. I remember it was last season, and I want to say it was either Wolves. I think it might have been Wolves. He got caught off. He came on at half time. I think he came on at half time, or just after half time, and I think he got caught offside 5 times in the second half.
Wow.
Yeah. It kind of made me a bit angry seeing that. I thought he's not changed his ways.
No, he hasn't. I'm just having a look, Chris, because somewhere in the back of my mind, I've got the idea that someone has been booked for being consistently offside. So I'm just having a quick Google.
Can you Google?
It's telling me that you can't, but I'm sure somewhere in my brain I've been.
Someone else.
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of Van Persie when he was offside and kicked the ball away and got sent off. I might be thinking of that, but I'm sure somewhere in my mind I remember watching a game.
He scored one of my favourite World Cup goals I've ever seen, Van Persie.
That flying header.
Diamond. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
I remember seeing that. I remember I was just sat watching TV like you did, and I was like, wow.
That World Cup in general, because that had the Rodriguez goal in it as well.
Oh yeah.
That was a good World Cup.
That was he got bought. That was what Real Madrid bought him for, and it turns out that he can't actually do that every week. Oh yeah. Right, we'll move on to your teaser answer. So let me get this right. So it's 6 managers.
Yeah.
Who have been at 5 Premier League clubs.
5 or more. So there is a couple that have been at more than 5, but yeah.
I've literally gone through the OAP list of Premier League managers because this is all I can think of.
Right. I'll give you 6 attempts. So be careful with who you read out.
I've got 6 names.
That's good.
Confident on maybe 3. Right, we'll go with Mark Hughes.
Mark Hughes, yes. I thought that was one of the more difficult ones. Yeah.
That was one of the obvious ones. That was the first thing on the list.
So he's been manager of Stoke, Blackburn, Man City, Fulham, and Queen's Park Rangers, which I completely forgot about, and also Southampton, which I forgot about as well because he wasn't there for very long. So yeah, he's been in charge of
Sam Allardyce. That's the other one.
Sam Allardyce, indeed. I think he's the only person who's been at 7. So Bolton Wanderers, West Ham, Blackburn, Sunderland, Everton, Newcastle, and Crystal Palace. Interestingly, only 3 of those have been for over 1 season. There you go.
He was also England manager as well.
He was, for a famously short amount of time.
Oh, right, okay. They were my 2. I was very confident about those 2. Right, I'll go with my next. I'll go with Roy Hodgson.
Ooh, Roy Hodgson is in there as well. Nice work. Crystal Palace, who is now his longest club as manager in the Premier League. And then obviously Fulham and Blackburn and West Brom and Liverpool. Only 20 games in charge of Liverpool.
Yeah, he's always a very good manager at keeping teams up. Like Palace, they aren't doing that bad considering the team that they've got. He's a good manager.
Yeah, I rate him. I think he's been a bit, at the bigger teams, he's been a bit unfairly treated, shall we say. I think, Liverpool was probably a bit out of his depth, but yeah, 20 games, it's not really enough, is it?
I'm scraping the barrel now. Steve Bruce. I don't know if I want to say that one.
Are you going for it?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Steve Bruce is in there. He's had another 5 teams. He's had Birmingham City, Sunderland, Hull City, Wigan Athletic, and Newcastle, of course, now.
No, I'm really, really sorry.
You're missing. So you've got 4.
Okay.
So you're actually missing the person at the top of the list in terms of games.
Okay. Martin O'Neill.
Oh, he's not there.
Nigel Pearson. Nigel Pearson was the other one I had, by the way.
Nigel Pearson's not there either, I'm afraid. I think Nigel Pearson's obviously Leicester, now at Watford. Has he been anywhere else? Was he Newcastle manager for a bit?
Newcastle, yeah, he was, yeah.
Yeah, and Martin O'Neill, obviously, Sunderland, Villa, and Leicester. And I don't think he's been manager of anyone else. So you've missed one obvious, Chris. Well, I don't know how Harry Redknapp didn't come into your radar at all there.
Yeah, I don't know.
639 games as a Premier League manager. That's not bad going, is it? West Ham, Portsmouth, Spurs, QPR, and Southampton, obviously, famously short. And then the final one, which is probably I'd say it's the most difficult one, is Alan Pardew. So he's been manager of Newcastle. He was there for a while. Crystal Palace, West Ham, and then he had 18 games as Charlton boss and West Brom as well.
I saw some tweet the other day saying that his 7-year contract with Newcastle ended a couple of weeks ago. So he's not getting paid anymore. He was managing in the Dutch league, wasn't he? from what I remember, and he's quit.
Oh, I have no idea now.
Yeah, he was managing in and they got relegated. And he quit because they couldn't afford. I think he said that they wouldn't be able to afford his wages. I think he was trying to say that he was trying to do a good thing, but getting a team relegated, I don't think that's very good.
What struck me was the amount of, obviously these are very experienced managers. They've been in lots of jobs for lots of teams.
None
The
of them
amount of teams where it's been underneath, like less than a season that they've had. So obviously like Pardew, Charlton and West Brom are 18 games. Roy Hodgson, 20 games at Liverpool. Mark Hughes, 22 games at Southampton. And also the other thing was the amount of teams that were repeated. So Southampton are in there quite a lot. Newcastle are in there quite a lot. And they're all sort of like, kind of like yo-yo clubs, I guess, between
the thing is, like, these managers, they're there for stability, aren't they? You sack a manager, you think, who can we get in quickly? Mark Hughes, Sam Allardyce, Steve Bruce, Roy Hodgson. The names that you can just get in for maybe just do a quick fix.
Yeah. Which we probably could have done with about Christmas time at Villa.
Out of those, who would you have?
Well, not Steve Bruce. Let's rule him out straight away. Out of all of those, I would probably go with Roy Hodgson.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know he's unavailable, but let's just say he got sacked from Crystal Palace. All of those managers were available. It would be him.
I would agree. I'd go with Hodgson as well.
Definitely not Alan Pardew. Put him below Steve Bruce, actually, and I don't like Steve Bruce at all.
No. Alan Pardew would probably be sixth on that list, unfortunately, because you'd have to give him an 8-year contract.
Exactly.
Just to keep him there. But yeah, cool. No, that was a good one. I enjoyed that. I got 4.
Yeah, 4 out of 6, not bad at all.
That's not too bad. I should have got Redknapp though, but I think in my head I was just trying to think of who out there right now is managing clubs, but
pressure.
Yeah, I never would have got Pardew though, not in a million years.
No, me neither. He was the hardest one there. I just forgot about Mark Hughes, who had been manager at QPR and Southampton. He was just so forgettable. He's a very forgettable man.
Wow.
He just, yeah. I completely forgot because they're not that good, are they? I don't know. Yeah, he's not a great manager, is he? Really?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't got the best reputation, has he, as a manager?
I wouldn't say it to his face. He does seem like a bit of a psycho, but yeah, there we go. Let's hope he's not listening.
Well, if he is, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
At Liam Spencer on Twitter. Okay. Cool. Okay. So, that's it from me. Anything you want to add, Liam?
No, not this week.
Okay. So we'll be back with another episode next week. So see you next week.